Mr. Mayor, it is 9 a.m. and the live stream and recording has commenced. You may begin your meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Council, senior members of the senior leadership team, presenters, and resident. I see that we do indeed have quorum for today's meeting. I will call it into session. This is a regular council meeting on Wednesday, March 26th. As usually, I will call the, please ask everyone that may to please stand as we have the national anthem. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the reading of the land recognition statement, and today Councillor Kerr has the honor.
Thank you. The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land, steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hadiwadarank, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is a result of the resources and lasting friendship of Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. I now turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 4, adoption of the agenda. I have a motion put forth by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that the agenda for March 26, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. To Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the agenda as printed? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 5, disclosure of pecuniary interests.
Thank you. After viewing the agenda, Councillor Olson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. During consideration of item 11.2.8 at our March the 6th, 2025 regular council meeting, I declared a pecuniary interest with respect to the appointment of a regional councillor. I have deposited my written statement of disclosure and pecuniary interest with the clerk as required by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. On March the 7th, 2025, I met with the Integrity Commissioner, the authority in such matters, to request an opinion on whether I can vote for myself when the matter of the appointment comes before council again, as it will be today. I have elected, in the interest of fairness and transparency, to disclose the Integrity Commissioner's opinion. And further, I have deposited the opinion with our clerk, and I'm waiving privilege so that the details of my question, the analysis, and the Integrity Commissioner's comments and opinions are available for all to see. In his opinion, you do not, and these are his words, a direct quote, you do not have to declare a pecuniary interest and may participate in the vote on the appointment of regional councillor on March 26, including your own appointment to that position. So that's my statement for today, and if anybody wants to see the document, the clerk has it, and I'm sure any questions can be answered at that time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Eckert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank Councillor Olson for bringing that forward. I have no objection to that. I never did have any objection to it. I don't think anybody on council had any objection to Councillor Olson putting his name forward and, in fact, voting for himself. My issue is the participation in the closed session part of the meeting, where, in my opinion, this says nothing about that. It says that he can take part in the vote for himself, doesn't address the closed session, and in my humble opinion, I think his participation in the closed session creates an advantage or a disadvantage to the other 7 or so candidates that have put their names forward. So that's my issue. I have no issue with the ruling based on the question that was asked. Can he vote for himself? Yes, he certainly can take part in that open session and vote for himself. I have no issue with that. My issue is in the closed session where, in my opinion, as I said, it would appear as though one candidate would have an advantage over the others.
Thank you. I'll turn to the clerk. Any comments on Councillor Eckert's statement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do understand that the counselor did seek advice with regards to his participation in the discussion as well, if I'm not mistaken, and did receive clearance from the Integrity Commissioner. Perhaps the counselor can speak to that further.
Thank you. Councillor Olson?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, and I'm also reminded that we have an obligation to keep ourselves free of pecuniary interest when we sit in these places. And the proper thing to do when you're in doubt about something like this is to declare out of caution and then seek the advice of the Integrity Commissioner, and that's what I've done.
Thank you.
And I do have a responsibility also to the people who put me in this place to see that they are represented, and that's what I am doing. How we go about doing that, I guess that's a matter of procedure that I have nothing to say about, but I'm going to follow the procedure that's laid out.
If I may, Councillor Olson, because I didn't read the ruling from the Integrity Commissioner, did he indeed clear the way for your discussion in any in-camera discussions? As in looking at the candidates' statements?
Well, yes, I'm cleared to do this, and, it's on, when I discussed it with him, I described the situation.
Okay.
And he said that I could participate up to and including voting. So that was the way it was worded.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, not on this.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we're still doing disclosures, right?
I'm declaring a conflict of interest.
Yes.
With regards to item 13.2.5, report 2023-2027, strat plan update, item future investment in hydro. Due to stipend payment for meeting attendance, I'm declaring a conflict of interest as required by the Integrity Commissioner.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Hildebrand. Councillor Kerr?
All I can say is ditto. Oh, sorry. I'm in the similar position to Councillor Hildebrand with respect to the NP hydro discussion, so I have to declare a conflict of interest for that. And I do have a ruling from the Integrity Commissioner as well, similar to that.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Kevin. Councillor Kerr. Getting too familiar with all my councillors. Excellent. Thank you. Any other discussions or disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, not seeing any. Turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to our presentation this morning. We are joined by Marjorie Prentice, consultant for the town, here to present an overview of operations and maintenance manuals for the sanitary collection and stormwater management systems. And Mr. Mayor, this is also relevant to item 9.3.1 on the consent agenda this morning. And so I welcome Ms. Prentice.
Ms. Prentice, you have the floor.
All right, good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff and guests. I'm Marjorie Prentice from GEI Consultants Canada, and I worked on this project with City of Van Leeuwen, your environmental compliance analyst. I'm just going to go to the next slide. You can, I'll just review the project goals, the legislative requirements behind it, give a little overview of the system components and the O&M procedures and forms that we made to go with them, and then the documentation and reporting that comes out of these manuals. So our goal was to develop O&M manuals for the sanitary and stormwater management systems, and each one of these manuals is actually just a collection of procedures and practices and guidelines to help manage the system and to help support the performance of the assets so that they work the way they were intended. And that's, to take wastewater and runoff away and maintain public health and safety and protect the environment. And these are not cast in stone. They're meant to be revised and edited as they go along and refine practices for maintaining the systems. So why now are we creating manuals? The Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks has come up with legislative requirements behind these. They seem to be moving towards a quality management system, which is similar to that was developed for the drinking water, which is guidelines to manage all your processes. This enables you to control and improve all the practices that you do to maintain the systems. And this improves quality of service for residents. And then as well, there's a system for maintaining these documents and naming system, and everyone knows where they are, and they're stored. And these also support the asset management plan, which of course has come in over the last several years. Because if you have timely maintenance to your assets, you'll extend their life better than if you run them to failure and have emergency repairs, that sort of thing. Next slide. So what's driving this? I'm sure you've heard of the Consolidated Linear Infrastructure Environmental Compliance Approval, which is about a 50-page document or so full of conditions and requirements for managing the systems. And this replaces all the previous little numerous ECAs that had to be issued for each component when parts of the system were built. You had to get an ECA approved. So anyways, if you follow all the requirements and conditions in the CLI ECA, then you're able to alter and change the system without getting approval each time you do something. So, and this all falls under the Environmental Protection Act. So one of the requirements of the CLI ECA is to have O&M manuals for each system. So they list out what has to be in it. There's operation procedures, inspection, maintenance repair programs, if there's any special requirements to protect drinking water, and then as well as emergency response plans, even procedures for if the public complains about things, how do you deal with it, and that everyone has access to all the as-built drawings and the manuals, of course. And as I said, they're meant to be updated, and so they're a minimum every 2 years that they should be updated, and that's as well under the regulations. So also part of the requirements are operating requirements, which is that each system needs to be maintained in a state of good repair. And that means cleaning them and maintaining them so that they perform as they were intended to perform. You provide adequate funding to carry out these tasks, and that you provide staff, training and, adequate training to carry those out, as well as provide any services or systems that are required to carry out those duties. And so the last thing is that everything in the system, they must be inspected at the frequency and in accordance with what you've laid out in your own manual. Next slide. So this is an example of what the table of contents looks like. So it's a listing of all the procedures, and you can see they all have specific file numbers that you know what they are. And they all follow the same format with a system overview. There's inspection, maintenance, and repair procedures, operation, communication procedures, emergency response, and then the appendices are essentially the drawings and the CLI ECA, as well as technical supporting documents, the next page. And these are just any relevant reports or background information that's helpful to operators or whoever might need to look up for the system. And then we also included a list of any figures we created for the manual, lists of forms and lists of lists, which is all the data that helps for the different procedures. And so this is just a map showing the sanitary system, just to remind you of what components are involved for all these procedures. You've got sewers, force mains, 1,000 maintenance holes, and laterals, which the laterals are essentially on all the private property, but each one has a connection to the sewers, which those have to be inspected when you do the CCTV inspection. Next slide shows the stormwater management system has more components. You've got pipes, maintenance holes, more laterals, and then catch basins, outlets, and then facilities for stormwater management, which includes oil and grit separators and 18 stormwater ponds, low impact development facility, channels, and as well as wet weather storage. So this is just an example of some of the maps that's in there with numbers that lead to the tables listing all the facilities. Next. And this shows an example of the procedures, which they all follow the same format with a purpose, scope, definitions, and then the actual guidelines, any associated documents, and then a revision history so that you know how they've changed over time. Next slide, please. And this is just an example of the many forms we created. So basically each asset has an inspection form that lists out what the inspector should be looking for when they do it, whether there's any issues or if there's further maintenance required or follow-up actions, and it's all documented on a page. Often it's easier to collect information digitally, but these can just be a backup or form the template for when you're creating digital collection forms. Okay, next slide. And we also created forms for any procedures or processes, like for example, if it's necessary to bypass the sewer system, or if you have spills, these forms collect all the data that you need to report to MECP when you call to report these things, and it's all contained on one page so everyone knows where the information is. And as well, each manual has a summary table, so it lists all the assets, all the maintenance activities that happen for each one, and the frequency, how often you're supposed to do them, the guidelines you refer to, and we came up with some operational performance indicators, which as well may change over time, but that just gives you an idea of how the system is doing over time, whether things are getting worse or better, and as well as where all this data is stored. And finally, all this information that's documented so you can track all your activities, and it's all needs to be reported in annual performance reports, which are coming out around this time of year, every year, reporting on the previous year. And this information will be posted on the website as well. This is all part of the guidelines for the CLI ECA, and it will just cover everything you've done to the system: maintenance, repairs, any complaints, any spills, overflows, basically anything that you might want to know. And the future addition to these manuals will be developing stormwater catchment maps for every outlet in the system, of which there's about 50. And coming out of that, there needs to be a monitoring plan for the stormwater system, which everyone's waiting for the ministry to come out with a guidance document that's sort of telling what they're looking for. But it will essentially involve monitoring, the waterways and systems to make sure that the systems aren't having a negative environmental impact on the systems, and any actions you might be able to do to help correct them. And that's it. If you have any questions about it.
Great. Thank you for your presentation. Interesting, that last slide that you showed the outlets. Is there a standard that we have to meet? Like, do we regularly test the outlets now to make sure they meet environmental requirements, or is that something you see coming?
Yeah, I think, well, that's not really done now. I don't think you do have regular testing of stormwater outlets, but these maintenance guidelines, or the monitoring guidelines that are coming out, I'm not sure if, I don't think you're going to have to be monitoring every outlet, but I think it will be more of an overall monitoring of the waterways to see how the water quality is improving or degrading over time.
Okay.
It may involve certain outlets, I think, to get an idea of the quality that's coming out of the system.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for council. I'll walk to the Director of Public Works, Mr. Marr.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So just to add on that response, it depends on what the environmental compliance approval was for that particular outlet. We do currently monitor one still. It's the stormwater management pond outlet at Rice Road and Highway 20. We were required to monitor that a certain amount of years after construction of that pond. We're still continuing to monitor that. We monitor for water quality, temperature, and quantity as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Any members of council, any questions? Councilor Kerr.
Yes, only because I live beside one. There are casements that were put in for it for water quality testing. In other words, the steel tubes with the lock tops that they could do a plunge test on, as well as the design of the particular stormwater pond has a restricted outlet flow on it with a measuring device beside it. So I guess my question is, if this stuff is in place, are we looking at it and monitoring it, or is these things put in place and never followed up on? This is, I guess, a question relative to the Director of Public Works, because you say you're looking at the Rice Road one, yet these other things were put in the stormwater pond for Cherry Ridge. Like I said, the water quality tubes and everything else. And I'll be honest, in the whole time I've lived there, I've never seen anybody come by and check anything.
To the Director.
Through Mr. Mayor, so in the past, there hasn't been a good job done with respect to the maintenance and inspection of the individual components of the stormwater management ponds. And we completed a study a few years ago, which gave us an overall condition assessment on those ponds and gave us some recommendations for remediation. We're looking to implement those projects over the next 6 to 10 years to upgrade those. I'd like to pass this question over to Sydney. She is dying to get up to speak to you guys. She's been here for a few minutes now and hasn't had the opportunity. And I think she can speak more to how we're going to monitor, perform our inspections, and what we're going to look at with respect to stormwater management ponds.
Thank you, Director.
Good morning, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kerr. So basically, each pond now will be getting inspected twice a year, so spring and fall. And then if there's any significant weather event, so if we've had like a significant amount of rain, we'll have staff go and take like a general look. And then every 5 years, we will have a thorough inspection done by a consultant that will take sediment levels, look at the outlets more closely. But twice a year now, each pond will be looked at. The inlets and outlets will be inspected. And yeah, we'll monitor through our forms, which we have digitized, so there will be data. Yeah.
Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, it was more the subsurface water quality evaluations where those, if anybody's seen them, they're a square blue tube that were drilled in to go down and make sure that the water quality. There's one actually at the corner of Memorial Drive, right near where a potential sewage pumping station might go in. But there's also one right beside the stormwater pond at Cherry Ridge. And I was of the opinion that periodically there were samples going to be taken from those tubes. That was their intention, was to put them down so they could take a quality check. Okay. Is that part of it or not?
I haven't specifically looked into that, but now that you've mentioned it, I definitely will.
Okay, that's
that
fine.
wasn't even in our report that was done in 2023. Nothing was specified for those specific pipes that you're speaking of. So
Right.
we'll look into it for sure.
No, that's great. I have a standing joke with the stormwater pond at Cherry Ridge because it's spring-fed, so it's not just a stormwater pond, it's a pond.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any other questions for the presenter? Not seeing any. Thank you again for joining us this morning. Turn to the clerk.
Thank you. Through Mr. Mayor, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive the presentation from Marjorie Prentice regarding an overview of operations and maintenance manuals for the sanitary collection system and stormwater management system for information. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the presentation? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Again, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the adoption of council minutes. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that the following minutes be printed and circulated as read. CO5 2025, regular meeting of council, March 5th, 2025. To Mr. Mayor for any errors or omissions.
Thank you. After viewing these minutes, any errors or omissions that any councillor would like to report? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 8. If there are any items to which council would like to lift from the consent agenda, now would be the time to do so.
Councilor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you. I wonder if we could lift 9.3.2, please, the 2025 Spongy Moth Report.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any other, there we go, Councilor Wink.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to lift 9.5.1, municipal resolution re-trade tariffs.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor. Any other items to be lifted? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That then brings you to the consent agenda, save and accept those 2 items. If there are any members wish to speak on an item, now would be the time. We can call this by category, beginning with minutes and recommendation sheet from the strategic planning meeting.
Thank you. Any comments on those? Councilor Olson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak to 9.3.1, which is, I believe, is part of the presentation that we just saw there. And I appreciate very much the presentation, of course, and I think it's this is a step in the direction of making this into a process. When you look at processes and record keeping, and it all fits together into an overall plan, and I predict we're going to find a good result from this, and we'll find out that we'll get ahead of ourselves on our original plan as far as maintaining the stormwater management pond. So I think this is a great step, and I'm be happy to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on those consent agenda items? Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to comment on 9.3.1, which is the presentation we had, which was an excellent presentation. I think it's an ambitious goal. And the comment and challenge I'd like to direct to the Public Works Manager is access to updated drawings and execution of the plan, the manpower requirements to get the work done. Because it's great to have the plan, but now, once we get the plan, we have to have the staff to do it. So I'd like a comment from the Public Works Director on those comments, please.
Okay, thank you. To the Public Works Director, Mr. Marr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you for the question. It definitely downloads some additional pressures onto the department with respect to the maintenance and inspections that will take place with respect to our stormwater management facilities and our sanitary collection system. There are a number of existing contracts that the town lets out annually now. One I'll speak to specifically would be the annual flushing and CCTV inspection program for our sanitary sewers. So the way those contracts will be structured is that those contractors, in performing the duties of the flushing and CCTV inspections, will also do the inspections required for the sanitary sewers, the manholes, as part of their scope of work. So there will be, and that's with the storm sewer as well. So we do CCTV inspections on our storm sewers. So those types of inspections will be completed on behalf of the on behalf of the town by the contractor as part of that assignment. So that will relieve some of the burden on the department to do individual inspections. When it comes to stormwater management ponds and our individual inspections, we have to do twice a year, as well as other municipal infrastructure inspections. We will be relying on engineering staff in the department to do that work, as well as for culverts and with respect to the storm sewers, that'll be picked up during road patrol exercises with the department that are already being completed. So some of it will be assimilated into the department, some of it will be completed through contractor services. We've had multiple discussions with the supervisors, managers, and the environmental compliance analysts on how we structure the inspections and the work to be done and who does that work. So it's still a work in progress, but we're confident that what we've said we're going to be able to do, we'll be able to complete with the resources and the contracts that are already in place.
Councilor Hildebrand?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate those comments. The anomalies are the ones that concern me. Not all lines run down roads and manholes are on roads. And that's where the pressure is going to come on your department, I think, to know where all these things, because a lot of, even beside my house, the line runs between our houses. There's an easement, and then the manhole is back in the woods off the Steve Bauer Trail. And I bet you it's never been looked at in many years, because I have to go out there occasionally, even find the manhole myself. And I know that happened many times. I wouldn't say in ancient times, but in times ago, where they didn't run the sewer line down the road. They'd all of a sudden cut through backyards of people's houses and run a sewer line in there. So that's where the challenge, I think, is going to occur to your department, to know where they are and get access to them to be able to accomplish it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I'd just like to point out that we have to keep in mind that the town does indeed have it's our employee, the know-all and be-all of all systems, Mr. Cook. He's been with us so long that I don't think there's too many manholes or sewer lines that are hiding from this gentleman. Mr. Cook, any comments on what Councilor Hildebrand has stated?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. In the recent years, the town has done a lot of work trying to figure out where everything is and getting everything on a GIS map where our lines are and where our manholes go. And to Councilor Hildebrand's point, there was a time when some of that information wasn't widely accessible to us. So we did do an awful lot of exploratory hikes through backyards and through some of the woodlots. But I think at this point, we have a really good handle on what we have in the system, and we have some quality staff that also know where these things are, and they've had experience in dealing with them. So I think we really are a lot further ahead than we have been in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Thank you again, Councilor Hildebrand.
I agree with Mr. Cook's comments. We have a quality staff, and we're a lot further ahead than we were before. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor. To the clerk.
The next category would be action, information, and regional correspondence.
Councilor Nesnick.
I'm sorry, could we just back up one to 9.3.3?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead. You're right. I should have asked if there was any more comments on the remaining ones in that section.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
All right, thank you. Yes, so this is the Canada Connects project, mural project. So when I read through it, I thought, oh, this is lovely, wonderful. Certainly what one of my committees, the Cultural Advisory Committee, has been working on. Unfortunately, though, we were not given any prior knowledge that this was coming down the pipe. So in our plan, so I'm feeling like, I'm not sure who, it said in short, Pelham has applied. That certainly didn't come from our committee or advisory committee, which is fine. Maybe you got something in the mail that said you can apply for this, and somebody on staff did go ahead and get that. So I guess my problem is it's like two hands wagging the tail. We're focusing on bringing something to Fenwick in terms of wrapping some of the utility boxes that are up there. So we've put many hours into that as a committee, and so to ask for that to have to be deferred is a bit of a disappointment. And considering that even this project is going to go over the budgeted amount and then ask the MCC to take it out of their operating budget, I'm just not sure if that's feasible. So I just had a couple questions with regards to that. Maybe our director and can answer that. So just how will that be funded through the operational budget? If the operational budget's already allocated and...
To the Director of Recreation, Ms. Van Ravensway.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. This was a project that we were told about, and to accommodate the added expenses, we will be, and actually, we're still trying to determine how much the expenses are going to be, because we do need to hang the mural, in which the mural will be, we estimate it at between $2,500 and $3,000. And that would be charged against at the actual MCC building maintenance and supplies.
Councillor?
So are those monies available in that budget?
Yes, well, I mean, it's early in the year, and we will have to look and make sure that throughout the season, as we're continuing on, that our monies are available, and that's what we strive for every year. Of course, there's ups and downs, and we can't determine all of our expenses, but we estimate what they're going to be, and if we can save something on one project, and we know, we've had to spend on another.
Yeah, okay. I guess my problem is that an operational budget isn't really meant to hang art. And so that's where I'm coming in with a little bit of a concern over the issue, and just maybe asking for more transparency in the future that a project like this is coming forward, and do we have the funds available to go forward with it and get council approval on it, and also make sure that you've got your ears open to the other projects that the Cultural Advisory Committee has in plans. So hopefully we can find some sponsorship to keep that going. Since we had the beautiful mural installed here in Font Hill, we really wanted to do something wonderful for our residents who live in Fenwick as well, so that they had something beautiful to look at. So we'll continue to endeavor with our committee over that, and hopefully we can get both projects up and running. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Nesnick. Again, I guess on those items, any other council comments on the first group of items? Councilor Olson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to address 9.3.4, which is the special exemption in the report that was issued at the request of council, and I'm pleased to see that we apparently have that all covered right now with all the documentation that we've done and all the items that we've done. So pleased to see that, of course, and have that confirmation. So thank you.
Thank you. And just as a note, our Director of Planning got hindered this morning from attending the council meeting by an ice storm in her locality. So that's why she's not joining us today.
She's online there.
Oh, pardon?
Yeah, she's online.
Oh, there she is. She is online. I'm sorry. Excellent, Ms. Dusling. You didn't turn, you got back home okay, I take it? I understood that you tried to attempt the drive and decided to go back home.
It's been an interesting morning, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, very good. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. Any comments on the parking situation?
No, Mr. Mayor, just assuring that we have the right policies and processes in place.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next category would be action, information, and regional correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on those items? Councillor Olson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, 9.4.1, I believe we're talking. That's the Community Foundation and the leave of bequest request from them to declare a day. And I think reading through the letter from the president, Brian Rose, I mean, it's very clear that there's a great deal of difference being made by Niagara Community Foundation, and I see their grants come up frequently in the organization that I talk to. And they seem to find the place to where it will do the most good. Starting with small charities that are just starting out in small activities that might be just one or two people, all volunteer. They seem to find them and promote them, and they're behind things like the meals in the schools and things that give the kids a chance to get a good start on the day. So I'm fully in support of this, and I hope the rest of council will join me in this, because this is something where there's a pool of capital when charitable contributions are in decline across the country. This is another way that we can give back to our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Councillor Olson, any other comments on this group of items? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our last group is advisory committee minutes.
Thank you. And any comments on any of those items? Not seeing any. Excellent. So, Councilor Nesnick, you are indeed not trying to put you on the spot. You are indeed the council member for the Pelham Cultural Advisory, as you said. Yes. Okay. And any comments on that group?
No, just that it's a really positive working group. Always looking for different ways. We've done quite a few things. I did present a report not too long ago, a month or so ago, whichever one of our last meetings. So yeah, it's kicking along tickety-boo, and we have good participation and real cooperation. So it's a wonderful group of citizens working with us.
Okay, thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I therefore have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the March 26, 2025 council agenda be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved, save and accept item 9.3.2 and item 9.5.1. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. One last chance if anyone has any comments to make on any of the agenda items covered. Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 10, items for separate consideration. And addressing these in chronological order would be our first item, 9.3.2, lifted by Councillor Niznik, 2025 Spongy Moth Report and Invasive Species Management Response.
Councillor Nesnick.
Yes, so thank you very much, and thank you for providing us with this report. I guess, a couple questions as I read it. It seems as though Hillcrest Park seems to have a fairly big egg mass there, and it was determined that it would need treatment this year. However, in the report, it was suggested just a land spray routine on that. And in the report, it's asking that we spend $14,000 on 2 aerial applications for that. So just wondering why they're choosing to do the aerial versus what it was recommended in the report.
To the Director of Public Works, Mr. Marr.
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn this over to Ryan with respect to the effectiveness of the different treatment methods.
Mr. Cook, you have the floor.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The aerial treatment was chosen for Hillcrest Park just based on the size of the park and the accessibility, so that you could do ground spraying on ground spraying is really more appropriate for individual trees or a smaller property where you can actually get a boom up and then spray over a smaller area. We did actually attempt to do ground spraying of Hillcrest Park back in 2017, I believe, when the last infestation kind of started. Did contact the vendor, and after a short site visit, they determined that they wouldn't have ever been able to do that in the first place. So aerial spraying is really the most effective for an area the size of Hillcrest Park, and it's really not an easy place to access a lot of areas where we'll be spraying in there.
Councillor?
So the consultant or whoever wrote the report was not aware of those issues already in that park?
Mr. Cook?
I don't believe so. Ground spraying wouldn't be effective in a large portion of that area. If we were going to spray 1 or 2 trees on the outside of it, we definitely could. But because we'll be going into the interior of it, it wouldn't be. It's not accessible for that.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I just wondered why we were spending so much more money when the consultant said differently. But what your reasoning makes a great deal of sense. So thank you for being boots on the ground.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions to Mr. Cook? I'll go to Councillor Kerr first.
I guess I'm just supporting Mr. Cook's response. In my prior life, I was involved in spray application technology and applications, and actually got to spend time in a helicopter doing applications, as well as measuring and assessing ground applications. And yes, definitely for forested areas or things of that nature, aerial application is 20 times better. You generally, for ground applications, you have a maximum height of roughly about 25 feet, not even 10 meters, if you're lucky, with a handgun. And so you can imagine trying to do Hillcrest Park with the height of the canopy and everything else that's there. So I'm surprised that the consultant didn't take that into account and agree with Councillor Niznik. But yes, the aerial application is definitely the way for the geographic size of it, as well as the size of the canopy that they actually have to treat.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hildebrand.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just a procedural question. The report says we're going to receive the report, but the report also says that it talks about it should be undertaken. It doesn't say it's going to be undertaken. I think we're all in agreement that Hillside Park should be sprayed, and we should be spending the $14,000. So my question is the motion required by council to approve the expenditure?
I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do believe that's part of the budget, but I will defer to the Director of Public Works.
To Director of Public Works, Mr. Maher.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. So council approves a budget, I believe, of $75,000 for the invasive species and focusing on the smudgy moth. So we do have adequate budget that's been approved through council, and part of the spend this year was the inspections, and then now the spray program, which will complete this spring. So there is adequate budget there that's been prior approved by council.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eckert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the Director of Public Works. So the budget was for $75,000, $13,000 for the study, $14,000 for the aerial spray. What about the ground applications? Is there a figure in that, or did I miss that, or is that?
To the Director?
Through Mr. Mayor. With respect to any ground applications, if there's spraying required, we'll do that with our internal staff and resources. That'll be part of the operating budget.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this item? If I may, a few to either director, to the director, or to Mr. Cook. I see, correct me if I'm wrong, at least the last 2 years we've gone to, I believe it's Davy Trees. We did, when we first started out doing inspections, I believe we were with a different company. Did we put an RFP out and this, or how did we end up changing companies? Is that, and what was the steps on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. We went to competitive process in accordance with our procurement policy. I believe the contract is a multi-year contract for them to perform the inspections. Ryan, do you have any comments on that?
Mr. Cook, any comments on that?
Yes, through the mayor, we did a 3-year, multi-year contract, competitive bid process for sponge moth egg mass surveys, and if there was a requirement to do a large scale spray program, they would also help coordinate that as well.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And one last question to either one of you gentlemen. I didn't realize that we have this group, Pelham's Forest Health Volunteers. Is that we had people put their name forwards to do, well, I won't speculate. Who is, where did this group come from, and how long have we had this group in the town? Or is this something they want to see formed? To the director?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not personally aware of that organization, and I'll turn it over to Ryan to see if he has any further comment.
You have any thoughts on that group, Ryan? It's mentioned in the report that Pelham's Forest Health Volunteers.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. That was a potential program that actually our last vendor, Bioforest, was always planning kind of to set up. It was part of an educational program that was to go along with the spongy moth surveys. During COVID, it didn't really take off, so it's been kind of left, and that group doesn't actually exist.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. I hadn't heard of it existence before. Thank you for that. Any other questions on this item? Councillor Eckert.
Yeah, just to make a comment on the program that's been going on for a number of years now in regards to the new title, Spongy Moth. You know, we do a lot here about preservation of trees from cutting them down, but this goes hand in hand with that. And the difference in a few years ago, where I would see the side of my house or the side of my neighbor's house seemed like it was a moving carpet of these caterpillars, and we rarely see them now. So the health of our forests have been saved by our program here, so and at relatively low cost. So kudos to director and to Mr. Cook. They do a good job. I know on my golf course, my favorite weapon is a 7-iron, scraping the trees, which drives my playing partners crazy, but I'm killing millions of gypsy moths. So thank you.
And I trust you hit the odd ball, Councillor.
I didn't mention that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this item? Not any other questions? Not seeing any? I turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just be looking for a mover and a seconder to receive the report for information.
Councillor Nesnick, you will move. Sure. Councillor Hildebrand, you will second. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then a vote on the matter,
Oh,
please.
and so yes, call the vote on this. All those in favor? See none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 9.5.1, municipal resolutions regarding trade tariffs, lifted by Councillor Wink.
Councillor Wink.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We receive all sorts of correspondence from other municipalities on a regular basis, and I asked that this be added to the report. We're all aware of the tariff threats from the United States, and I don't want this council to be silent with respect to this issue. I get phone calls saying, what are you doing about it, and whatever. So I'd like to make a motion in support of the other communities. So if you would bear with me, I've got a lengthy motion here. So whereas the town of Pelham has received correspondence from the Township of Limerick, City of Port Colborne, City of Niagara Falls, Township of Central Frontenac, Champlain Township, Town of LaSalle, Town of Lincoln, Township of Selwyn, City of Toronto, Township of Pushlinch, and East Ferris Municipality have submitted correspondence regarding U.S. tariffs. And whereas the President of the United States of America has imposed tariffs on Canadian products and has announced intentions to impose additional tariffs in April 2025. And whereas such tariffs could potentially lead to significant job losses and economic instability for both Canada and the United States, and whereas municipalities will be directly impacted by the potential economic fallout and wish to offer support for a united Team Canada response. And whereas municipalities possess significant purchasing power through capital infrastructure projects and investments, and whereas the Town of Pelham's capital program for 2025 is valued at approximately $16 million, and whereas according to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, are expected to invest $250 and $290 billion in infrastructure over the next 10 years. And whereas federal and provincial leaders are encouraging Canadians to buy Canadian, and whereas trade agreements have traditionally encouraged municipalities to provide equal opportunity to suppliers from countries that are party to these agreements, and whereas municipalities can contribute to the Team Canada effort through procurement practices that comply with trade agreements and adhere to federal and provincial guidance. And where the Town of Pelham has received various motions from local municipalities supporting this initiative. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Pelham supports the collective effort of all levels of government to strengthen the Canadian economy through local campaigns and initiatives, and that the Town of Pelham urges the federal and provincial governments to collaborate with municipalities on measures to protect the Canadian economy and eliminate interprovincial trade restrictions, and that the Town of Pelham calls on the federal and provincial governments to remove any restrictions preventing municipalities from refraining from purchasing from the United States should tariffs on Canadian goods persist, and that the clerk forward this resolution to the following organizations along with the request to endorse the same or similar resolution: Prime Minister of Canada, federal party leaders, Premier of Ontario, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus, Big City Mayors of the Federal of Canadian Municipalities, Niagara MPs and MPPs, Niagara Region Local Area Municipalities.
Thank you, Councillor.
And thanks for the clerk for helping me with that.
Yeah.
And whereas the President of the United States of America.
And Councillor, do you have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Kerr. Okay, excellent, thank you. Any debate on this motion? Councillor Eckert.
No debate. I support it fully. I just wanted to point out, and it's a minor thing, housekeeping, but Right Honorable Prime Minister, it'll be Carney now, Honorable Melanie Joly, and then it just says Doug Ford, Leader of the Progressive Conservatives. Well, he's the Premier of our province. And I think it should say that, and I believe Councillor Wink's motion, it says Premier of Ontario, and I just want to make sure that it does say that when we send this out. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that, in fact, that's already in there? Excellent. Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Hildebrand?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I definitely support this, but I'm going to go on my soapbox now and talk about the engineering profession. We're supposed to have reciprocity. I graduated well over 50 years ago and thought that reciprocity means that all provinces would treat us equally. The fact is, what I found out is when I did my first project in Alberta, I couldn't get the project approved. And there was nothing wrong with the engineering part of the project. The problem was I didn't have an Alberta engineering license, in effect. They would never say that, but that was the actual fact. So I learned very quickly that I better get a whole bunch of interprovincial licenses. And yet, around the world, I could engineer without any problems other than 2 states in the United States. It was frustrating. But not only do we have that, in the medical profession, I have medical doctors. They have to join other health teams in the province in order to function, which to me seems if you're an Ontario doctor, you should be able to function in Ontario. I mean, they have a barrier provincially, but they also have an interprovincial barrier. So 11 resolutions where communities wrote letters in. 3 of them addressed interprovincialism, and the Niagara region talked about reducing provincial barriers. So that's my soapbox talk for the engineering profession. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And if there is indeed a silver lining in what's happening on this front, the fact that these interprovincial barriers look like they're under scrutiny and hopefully will be reduced greatly, if not eliminated, it's obviously going to be a great thing for all businesses in the country. Councillor Kerr?
Yes, and one of the anticipated side benefits, which hasn't, and I appreciate Councillor bringing up the issue of credentialism across provinces not being there. My understanding, there's an intention as well to expedite further credentialism of foreign-trained specialists, an example being in the medical profession, to expedite. We know we're in a doctor shortage, a health shortage here, and this was also my understanding as part of the discussions is that if they can get the framework across all the provinces, then they can expedite coming into Canada and not have to take trained medical staff and put them through a 2-year residency when they've already performed it, this is one of the things that we're looking at. We all know that you go different places. I have the same issue as Councillor Hildebrand, being a certified agrologist in one spot, but then if I went to someplace else, I had to get a designation in that province, even though, but it was a rubber stamp, but it was still the whole headache of having to go through that. So I support this wholeheartedly. I think we all are in this boat together, and we all want to be growing in the same direction, and we're hoping that all levels of government fulfill it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Kerr. Any other comments on the motion before us? Not seeing any, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Thank you. Motion carries. Councilor Link, again, thank you for bringing the motion forward. Councilor, to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have 2 in-camera sessions today, and that brings us to our first. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public in order to consider the following: personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations being one item, non-union. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Eckert?
Just a quick question to the clerk. I was unable to get the information on the first closed section, but I found it when I went into the second one. It had both of them in there. So is that what we're?
Yeah, that's just an e-scribe functionality. It's all
Okay.
it's actually in one agenda, but it's technically separate.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where I'm going to find
We're
this
only going to be
information.
considering one item at this moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor, going in camera. Okay, I see none opposed. Motion carries.